Hello. Hello. My name is Melanie Campbell. I'm President and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and National Convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. I also wear one other hat, and I'm the co-founder of the National Coalition's Thomas W. Deutsch Jr. Institute, anchored at Clark Atlanta University. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome you to our fifth number five session of the Black Women's Roundtable Wealth Builder Series. Tonight's topic is how to use use digital marketing, branding, and e-commerce tools for your business. The Wealth Builder Series is part of the Black Women's Roundtable's Digital Equity, Connectivity, and Women's Economic Empowerment Project, supported by Goldman Sachs. This project is led by our dynamic team at the Thomas W. Deutsch Institute at Clark Atlanta. The purpose of the series is to provide job seekers with skills for career transition and advancement, and provide aspiring and established business owners with tools to help them start or grow their businesses. We hope that the information provided by our dynamic panel of business, branding, and marketing experts will help you realize your dream of owning a business or expanding your existing business. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Sister Janice Mathis, our director of the National Coalition's Thomas W. Deutsch Jr. Institute. Janice, turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Melanie, for those inspiring opening remarks. This is the fifth in a series. We've been talking about growing business, growing opportunities for employment, and it's only right that we would have a session now about marketing and branding, because whether you're talking about your personal brand or the brand of your business or the brand that you want to portray to others, branding is an essential part of successful enterprise. I am pleased to be and proud to be the director of the NCBCP Thomas W. Deutsch Institute at Clark Atlanta University. And we have with us this semester 12 outstanding fellows who are engaging in research and study about health and social justice, civic engagement, economic opportunity, and economic sustainability, as well as tonight's program specifically focuses on digital equity and technology. And as we know, technology is ubiquitous, it is everywhere. And we don't intend to be left behind when it comes to technology. You probably heard the saying, knowledge is power. Well, I want to reiterate that not only is knowledge power, but generational wealth is also power. It is the way we bequeath to succeeding generations our hopes and our aspirations. And I see some younger folk here. I'm not going to embarrass Mason and say how long I've known him and his wonderful family. But thanks to all of our speakers tonight and throughout the series, they have been outstanding. And if you haven't done so already, if you haven't attended every session, never fear. They are posted on YouTube. You can follow NCBCP, the Black Women's Roundtable, and you can watch videos of past episodes if you want a refresher or if you happen to mention one. And I'll be a little bit selfish and say, follow NCBCP, Thomas W. Deutsch Institute, on social media. Would you believe that more than 2,000 people have attended one of these sessions or watched a video? And that tells us that we're on the right track. So sit back, relax, take notes. Make sure you take the survey at the end of the session so that we can continue to grow this series and make it better and more powerful. And Jocelyn, thank you to your team, to Alexandra and Alicia, for all the work that you have put into this. It has been simply magnificent. I can't wait to learn more about branding. So let me turn it back over to you, Jocelyn, to guide us through the rest of the evening.
Thank you so much, Janice, and thank you so much, Melanie, for your leadership and vision and helping us to pull this together. I'm going to introduce our three panelists for this today. I'm going to introduce them all up at the top so that they can go through one after another, and we can start and we can get all of this great nuggets of information that they have today. Our first speaker tonight will be Patra Vincent. Patra is a digital strategist and technology executive with over 15 years of experience helping organizations scale through data-driven marketing, automation, and digital transformation. She is the co-founder of Handshake and Code and the CTO of Sisters in Sales. Patra has led digital initiatives for global brands, startups, and nonprofits, bridging the gap between strategy, technology, and community impact. Her work centers on empowering women and underserved and underrepresented founders to harness digital tools for sustainable business growth and visibility. After Patra presents, we'll have Eve Carr Momperos. Eve Carr is the co-founder of Creole Essence, the clean beauty brand shaking up the industry with science-backed, plant-powered solutions for hair loss and scalp health. She has degrees at the University of Penn and Cornell, but she took a bold leap from academia to entrepreneurship, where she bootstrapped her business from the ground up, selling over $50 million in products without outside investors. Now, that is a remarkable feat. She appeared on Shark Tank and has since dominated QVC, Ulta Beauty, Whole Foods Market, JCPenney's, Amazon, and Urban Outfitters, proving that Creole Essence, a Haitian Black castor oil and clean beauty product, is, I want to say, the bomb. Eve Carr is also a social impact powerhouse. Her company creates jobs for farmers and women in Haiti, where she leads sustainability efforts, which redefine what it means to build a mission-driven business. And then finally, we'll hear from Mason Wright. Mason is a 19-year-old college freshman who has already made his mark as a young business owner, balancing the demands of education with the responsibilities of entrepreneurship. Despite his busy schedule, Mason is also passionate about gaming, finding both enjoyment and community in the virtual world he explores during his downtime. But what truly sets Mason apart, however, is his commitment to giving back, whether it's through his business practices, community involvement, or personal initiatives. Mason believes in using his success and resources to make a positive impact on those around him. As he navigates this exciting chapter in his life of embarking on college and being an entrepreneur, he's determined to prove that you can pursue your passions, build something meaningful, and still prioritize making a difference in the life of others. And without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to Patra Vincent to get us started. Patra?
Yes. Hello, hello, hello. I'm just going to share my screen. 1 second. It worked a lot quicker when I walked it through the first time, but here we go. And presents. Hello, everyone. My name is Patra Vincent, and I am CTO and founder of Handshake and Code, as well as the CTO of Sisters in Sales. My work sits at the intersection of digital marketing, product strategy, and real-world tools that help small businesses move faster without burning through cash. I spent the last few years building growth systems for founders, nonprofits, scale-ups, and something I've learned over and over is that speed and sustainability come from knowing which tools to use and how big your budget is. I am not an expert, but I do find myself as someone who has been in every single type of organization. I spent 15 years of my life at McKinsey & Company as head of DevOps, and I have worked with companies such as Intel, Travel Channel, Sisters in Sales, to help them to build out some of their organizational systems. My current company focuses on, I'll move this to my next slide. There's a bit about me. So here's some of the companies that I've helped to figure out their automation pieces, their interaction, their marketing spaces. My company currently focuses on helping teams launch, automate, and scale using digital systems. We build web funnels, content engines, back-end workflows, but we're also really big believers that the new wave of light work, go-to-market tools that level the playing field, tools that look like lovable, similar AI builders that let everyday founders create strong branding, quick landing pages, marketing assets, and within minutes instead of months, and cost definitely a lot less. Some of the projects that I've worked on have included major concert participants and producers such as Milk and Cookies, who do a major concert series within Atlanta. And now this year they've expanded out to South Africa, Johannesburg, and Cape Town, helping companies like PwC reimagine their rebrand and really understand how do they reach their markets online. So it is a really good balance of enterprise, small businesses, and spaces. I spend a good bit of my time mentoring through our SBA via SCORE, helping small businesses understand how they leverage marketing tools, automation tools, and help them go to market a lot quicker with a bit more efficiency. My main focus, because I am a hardcore developer, I am a full stack developer. I went to school for computer engineering with a minor in applied mathematics. And if you wonder why I minored in applied mathematics, it is just because math is part of every single thing that we do. So at the core of my work, everything goes back to the numbers. Anytime a client asks me what is happening, I have to show them where we are working, how we are helping them to improve within our market space. And that always comes back to what that value looks like and what that cumulative number looks like. So for today, I think my major thing in this world is really understanding how technology can help you scale really fast if you're able to leverage it in a really great way. Some of the projects that I've worked on across the board, when we come into a company, whether it's a small company, someone who is started out and they're a founder, or it's a large organization, a good bit of the things that they really do not understand after they get to a point and they hit a plateau is around how do I get more business? How do I reach my audience? How do I stay relevant? And if you're continuously reviewing that in your mind as you kind of go and build your business, you will continue to grow and expand. What we do is we come in and we help them to understand at each level how to scale at that point. And because I absolutely love to dabble in new technology and new spaces, some of the things that we've been able to do is leverage some of our tools to bring our clients to go to market pretty quickly for a lot less. When you're thinking through how do you build a team and what do you do to help accelerate them? Tools are our new team. And you do not need a full stack development team to be able to build out a product. From your brand side, you have amazing tools like Lovable that you can literally vibe code with and say, I would love to build a website that does this. And I would love to take an intake form here. And you can actually integrate AI pieces with it so that you can have a fully functioning marketing site, a business site, something that can actually process your customers' information and their content within 10 minutes. And when you're using other tools such as Canva, which will allow you to build up brand campaigns, which will give you everything from landing pages to PowerPoint decks in this space. And I do want to kind of go back to the previous image that you saw that actually was something that was done at an airport in front of a Burger King. While I was sitting there getting on a flight saying, okay, I need to send a headshot because I'm doing this NBA conversation tomorrow. And I literally took a photo with my braids and a bun in front of the Burger King. And I hopefully can send you guys a photo of what it looked like prior to that. But I literally ran it through an AI tool that said, change my shirt, change my background, and I was able to send a photo in less than 5 minutes. Tools like Gamma allows me to be able to create great PowerPoint presentations at the drop of a dime. I don't have to be a PowerPoint creator or designer. I can literally say, I'm going to go to like a tool like a ChatGPT, or a Claude that's going to allow me to create a couple of slide point decks. I'm going to be able to take that, copy it into a tool like a Gamma and ask it to run me a pitch deck or what have you, and then you get a fully produced product at the end, similar to what I'm showing you right now. This was something that I did a little bit earlier today where I said, here's my branding, here are my colors. Please give me a deck with what I'm going to tell you guys tonight. You know, we also leverage funnels. Funnels are really great because they allow you to be able to get information in and be able to communicate with your customers, your consumers, your potential lead, your prospects in a better way. They allow you to be able to segment information and content and say, okay, this person came in and they are looking for this. I'm going to now give them information about this. And it allows you to be able to really understand your market, really be able to segment your information and get things out to your audience. Tools that I leverage that do that really, really easily without a lot of, education and lead time and programming and developer space are tools like a Go High Level, a Card, other tools that I've leveraged is a HubSpot, but when you get into the HubSpot space, they do get to be a tad bit more expensive. If you're looking to leverage tools as a new business, I will definitely look towards tools that kind of give you a full focus, everything from social media to marketing to your pipeline management. And what I found is Go High Level and Card are usually the best kind of within that space. When you're thinking through like your e-commerce, it's really easy these days to be able to say, hey, I have a couple products that I want to be able to sell out in the real world and leverage tools like a Shopify, a Stripe, a Printify, and a Printful. Like Shopify allows you to build up and spin up a store within minutes. So you can have your product. You do not have to wait and have a developer build out a site that's going to be able to host these products. You can just come in here, sign up, throw your products online, and there's even AI tools that's going to help you to build out descriptions as well as, anything that you need, your purchase flow and what have you. Tools like Stripe allow you to do payment processing really easy. Back in the day, we would have to set up, as a developer, I would need to set up gateways and payment tools and, about 3 or 4 products that will be able to help you to be able to sell online that will cost you about $400 to $500 a month. Whereas you can leverage Stripe and you're just paying back some form of commission, a low-cost commission. Tools like Printify and Printful allow you to create merchandise products that you can do print on demand. And there are a ton of companies that do print on demand. So when you're thinking about, I need to go to market and I have a few things that I would love to have in my merch store, or I have some ideas for some products, but I don't know how it's going to test in the market. Do I want to print 10,000 or 100 of these and then be responsible for storing it, one, and then also be responsible for that upfront expense? You can leverage tools right now that are go to market, that are on demand, that will allow you to be able to do that really quickly without the major overhead. And I've used these for multiple clients across small businesses getting started, enterprise spaces that are looking to either build up their brand by having products, or they're looking to do things like swag bags or what have you. But anything across these spaces you can do in a space where you're not having to do a major investment up front. And then you can also be able to have everything in your store, from tote bags to coffee mugs to t-shirts and anything, and it integrates into any system that you have, anything from a WordPress site to a Wix site to a Squarespace site. You can have these marketplaces that are really low cost and really easy to spin up, that you can have a really good brand visibility, as well as, a really professional storefront. And then for the things that you just really can't do, there are a ton of automation pieces. How do you make your customers feel welcomed? How do you make your customers feel valued? And how do you continue to communicate and participate in their spaces? You have a ton of tools such as Zapier, Bravo, Microsoft Power Automate, which can automate specific workflows that will allow you to be able to continue to communicate with your clients. So for instance, we have a workflow that whenever I go to an event, because a big part of my intake is actually in-person events. I get a good bit of my clientele from conferences, from day-to-day events. And a big part of that is being able to exchange information. So I have a popple on my phone that someone can scan. And once they scan that popple and we exchange information, I have an automation that reaches out to them within 1 to 2 days that just says, hey, it was really great to meet you. You do want to make it, you want to have it a little bit delayed because you do not want them to have an email that comes from you right when you're standing in front of their faces, because it's just going to seem a little bit ingenuous. So you want to make sure that they're doing something when they're kind of away from you. So about an hour or two, even a day later, you can have something that automates, that sends them messages that says like, hey, how are you? It's really great to meet you. I would love to set up some time so that we can communicate, we can connect. Here is my scheduling link. And if you're using a tool like Go High Level, you have an automatic scheduling page where they can get a calendar link, find a time that works for them. If you're using Calendly, if you're using Microsoft and you're using Planner, there are so many different tools that can allow you to be able to do that. You know, and you can automate automations. You can automate any type of interaction. So if you're an e-commerce company that you want to have a bit of customer service at the end of your transactions and you want to continuously re-engage them and keep them warm as a consumer, when someone purchases an item, they receive it, now you can actually start some type of workflow to be able to keep them engaged. So you can now send them additional products that, you know, may make sense for them based on the purchases they have, depending on the systems that you're leveraging. And this can actually become really powerful. I've actually done things where we've had an entire sales operations workflow that works from a tool like an Apollo, which is one that I don't have here. But if you're struggling to find leads or prospects and you really want to go into a market where there is some white space, I would definitely tell you to look into tools like Zoom and Apollo, where you can literally set a criteria and say, I want to have companies that are in beauty, that are in this specific region with this specific demographic, and it can actually scrape the entire internet and come back to you with a list of potential prospects that you can actually reach out to, and it gives you email addresses as well as how to communicate with them. So you can leverage tools like LinkedIn, you can leverage tools like in Zoom, and a tool like Apollo and Zoom, they actually have email platforms where you can send out emails directly from them. So we've leveraged this. We have an international concert that we're working on, where we're looking to get sponsors overseas, and our entire team is here in the US, and we have been able to set up different funnels where we're able to communicate with thousands of organizations and companies overseas in different locations that match our demographic, they match our full criteria, our full customer profile, and start to reach out to them. Over the last 3 weeks, we have gotten about 26 responses back. And we have been able to almost triple their sales from last year, just based on cold emails that took 1 minute to set up an automation and do some of that outreach. So some of the time, a good bit of the time, it's what does your actual strategy look like? And once you're able to map that out. So here are a couple of things that some of these tools help you do. You know, as I've mentioned, there's design tools, and I know pretty much everyone's you know, familiar with the Canva and all the tools on the bottom spaces, but here are a couple of things that you can do within these spaces. You can create brand kits, you can do social media content, you can turn videos into clips, you can automate your workflows, as I mentioned. And any of these tools as a small business are really great. I have worked with companies that have spent tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in being able to create campaigns and being able to create sustainability and growth spaces based off of the things that these tools do within minutes. So really, you don't need to be a developer, or you don't need to be an AI expert. You just really need to be able to experiment. I had to restart myself as a business a really 2 years ago. I went into a space where my company was restructuring, and I really had to figure out, how do I go to market? How do I bring myself into the space and reinvent? And being someone that was in corporate for a really long time, and I've always had a good bit of the business aspect of it mapped out for me. So understanding I didn't need to deal with payroll. I didn't need to deal with, all of the nuances per day, bookkeeping, all of these things. And I had to find out really quickly, how could I go to market? How could I sustain? How can I build a team, but also have growth in this space? And technology is definitely something that comes easy to me just because it's in my space. What I have learned is, in the I've taken a good bit of time to invest in the people that I work with and the people around me. And I did turn to mentorship to really understand who's coming into the market and how can I help them and what makes the most amount of sense in this space. Because when you're working with enterprise, they got millions and hundreds of dollars to be able to throw at these campaigns. But when you're working as an entrepreneur, it is a completely different space. You have to really figure out, how do I build a website, how to build my product, how do I do all these things and still be able to actually really provide the service that I intended to do from the day one. And the truth is that none of these things should cost you anything. You should really be able to find the tools that work for you and strategize around those tools. So it's not finding the biggest, baddest tool that's going to do it at the most expensive rate. It's actually finding out, okay, what do I actually need, and finding out and building a strategy around that. And in this world today, when you have tools like ChatGPT, you have tools like Claude and all of Gemini, all of these AI spaces, you can literally ask it a question and say, hey, how do I do this? I want to scale in this region and I need to know who my competitors are. I need to know, what do I need to be following for my KPIs? I need to build a landing page. And I also need to be able to find a marketing sequence that is going to help me warm up this lead space or this white space, and then also to get them from, hello all the way to close. And sometimes it is just finding a gold, building one thing, setting up some automations, and then actually just learning back to back. So I will always tell everyone in this space, it is always it's a learning process. And if you do not continue to learn, you're not going to stay ahead of the curve. The thing with AI and the thing with marketing and all of these tools is that they're not replacing some of these pieces. They're actually coming in here and they are giving us enablement. So for new businesses, for people who are coming into the space that do not have a 10-man development team, or you do not have a full marketing team, or you do not have an entire LMD team that came from McKinsey or Bain or whatever, that can help you really jumpstart this organization. Understanding how to leverage these tools is amazing. I have helped companies build, who are like, I want to build an application and I know what it does, and I know I know how it can actually affect our market, and I know the benefit that it can have, but I am not a developer and I don't have any form of technical background. How do I kind of get to market with that? And the first thing I will always tell them is, do you understand the product that you're trying to build? And if you do understand the product they're trying to build, write a summary about it and get into one of these tools, get into a Lovable, get into a space that will say, okay, I'm going to give you, here is this outline of what I want to build. Can you make me see this? And I guarantee you, one of these tools is going to help you build something that's going to be able to make you visualize it a bit more. So whether or not you are developing it and you need to take this beyond this to a product and say, okay, I want to build this banking tool that does XYZ here, and now I have a prototype and I know how it works, you can bring that to a development team. And that development team is now going to really understand the functionalities. And I guarantee you that cost is going to be about 50% of what you were actually going to pay from day one if you did not come in with a clear idea of, this is the interaction. So when this happens, this is what I want it to happen. So the tools that we're leveraging in today's age will actually help us to get to those points a lot quicker. and a lot faster. I think that's pretty much the same thing, but it will help us to do it without a lot of the cost. And that is basically my goal in this world, is taking a lot of the things that I've learned on my corporate journey, working for these enterprise spaces, understanding what it takes to go to market, but understanding that most of the times people just want to see a clear idea. And if you're able to give a clear idea on what you're trying to do, and you're able to give a clear prototype on this is what it can look like with the tools that you currently have, as a CEO, as someone that's coming into the space, as a founder, you can do so much more that you can bring into all of your departments and give them a better and more clarity on what you're trying to focus on. And it's in your hands. I will definitely tell this. I've never met someone who's had an idea that has not been able to actually make it happen if they were able to actually put the time into some of the tools that can get them into that stage one, or at least into that bigger space. And I'm happy to help anyone figure it out. If you have a question, I can give you a tool. I can give you some form of space that you can already start to think about how to make it happen. And, I will tell you that I've worked with many, many small businesses on how to, build these things out and build their organizations. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Petra. Now, you talked about branding tools, funnels, e-commerce tools, and automation. Let's just walk through just a scenario really quickly. And I want you to tell me how much time and how much cost this would cost a person. Say someone has, or I decide I have this brand new lotion that I want to sell. I've got the product, I've created the product, I have inventory. Take me from the steps from branding, how I would segment my market, the e-commerce tools I would use, and how I would use automation tools. How long would that take me? How much would that take me? And what are the steps I need to do?
Awesome.
The steps that I need to do to find my customer, acquire my customer, and retain my customer.
Oh, awesome. Easy peasy. So I would say I would start with really defining your product. And sometimes that can just be a conversation. So I have an app on my phone, a ChatGPT app. So every time I come up with a wild idea, I literally click on it and I can talk into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to document what I'm trying, what my product is, the goals of my product, my emotions behind it. I love this product. I feel that it should feel luxurious. It should feel glamorous. It should feel whatever it needs to feel. How do I want my audience to feel for it? Who are my competitors? And I can talk that in. I can either do it as a voice command, or I can just type it in. Or if I had something that I prepared in my notes app, I can copy and paste that into either any one of our AI tools, period. A chat, Claude, Gemini, whatever. I would get an outline of what that product is. I need a pitch deck. I'll take that, I'll have it create a pitch deck for me. I'll take that pitch deck and I'll go to a tool like a Gamma. And I would say, hey, Gamma, I'm going to copy and paste this entire pitch deck into here. And I need you to create me a deck. So now, and here is, my colors. And we can kind of back a little bit because there are a ton of tools that you can leverage for swatches. You can go to like an Adobe, you can go to Canva. Any one of these can create swatch patterns for you. They can create logo patterns for you. They can do a bunch of stuff. So if you're trying to even begin on your branding, you can bring it there. But so now once you have that, you come into your Gamma and you say, here's my logo, here's my colors, here's 5 slides that I got, from an outline from any one of these tools. And I bring that in there. So now you have a pitch deck. I can also now take that same information and I can copy and paste that into a tool like a Lovable and say, I need a landing page. I need a landing page, and this is what that landing page needs to do. It needs to have e-commerce. I need to be able to sell some things. I need to be able to talk about my products. I need to be able to build an ambience, and I want it to look like this. And you can give it examples. You can send links. You can send a Pinterest, mood board. You can send images, and it's going to literally draft you something. You can vibe code it into a space, and you can continue to say, I will want this. I want a lead gen form here. Now, once you have some of your marketing pieces in place, you can use a Canva.
One second. One second. How long did that take from going from Chat GTP to going to Lovable? How long did that take?
3 minutes. 3 minutes. That's
3 minutes. Okay. 3 minutes. 3 minutes to start with the creating the branding. Now, what's the next step?
So now once I have all of those things, I just kind of take it into all the spaces I need to, right? So I now need to set up some type of website. You use a Lovable, right? Lovable gets you a website built really quickly. You can vibe code it, or you can use a tool like a Go High Level that has actually templates, and you can pull a template and you can actually like build that really quick. And there's also an agent part of it that you can actually talk to it to tell it how you want it to look. You can build your branding in. So a lot of these things are mostly plug and play. Now, when I want to go to market, there are tools like a Metro Cool. There are tools that can help me to market this across multiple social channels, and do an omni-channel marketing plan, right? So I can say, I want to be on TikTok, I want to be on Instagram, I want to be on, on LinkedIn, and this is the different types of content. So now you can actually schedule that across. And now you have your branding from all of these different spaces, you have your website, you have these pieces. In a space like a Go High Level or a HubSpot, or I'll keep HubSpot out of this for our new businesses spaces, because it does get pretty pricey, but a Zoho marketing, right? Now you can create a campaign that has a workflow that does all of these pieces. But if you don't have prospects, you can actually start that campaign at a Apollo or a Zoom info that's actually going to crawl the entire internet. That's going to get you prospects and leads. So if you're in a small town and you're just like, okay, I'm trying to start this business, but I want this to be global. I want this to be, national. And I need to find national leads and people that really want to actually use my product. Now I can go to these spaces. And actually that has now taken me about 10 minutes because I have all these pieces and it's all kind of automated in. And once you have your brand and once you're able to say that this is my demographic, this is my market, now you're able to pull that in. And once you have, and Zoom and Apollo also allows you to email and do some of your initial marketing from there. Now you can set up automations that can say, okay, once I send this email out to 10,000 people in this white space that may be relevant to me, but they're wild leads because I'm getting them from these random spaces, from these two AI apps. Once they start reaching out to you, you can actually implement and migrate those into a tool that will help you manage your funnel. So you can say, okay, I'm going to get some input back from this, maybe 1 or 2 or 3, out of 1,000 people, you're probably going to get maybe.
Let me stop you right there. We did 3 minutes to do our branding. We did 10 minutes to create our segment market and do our funnel. And now from there, we're going to start sending the emails out to this segment. Yes. So I've counted 13 minutes so far to go from branding to creating our funnel. Now, from there, what are we doing now?
So now you have your funnel created, right?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So now you have your funnel created. And once your funnel's created, if you have strategized, as I mentioned in the beginning, before you start any of these things, really understand what you want this to look like. Once you've strategized and you put your funnel and you have your workflow in place, it does it for you. So now you don't have to do anything in that space. Once someone actually becomes an actual lead and they have engaged back with you and they're like, hey, I would love to set up a call, bam, you know what? You have a automation that comes back to them and say, hey, here's my Calendly. Here is my, my Outlook, my Microsoft Outlook, book a call. And 2 days before that call or a day before that call, you can send them an automation. I'm really looking forward to talking tomorrow. Here are some things that we want to talk about on this call, set an agenda. And you can literally put that and automate that in an email. So once they get that, now they know what this conversation is going to be about. Now they know how to come prepared. So that first conversation that you have with them, you're not having to do a lot of that back history. You're not having to explain to them what you do, what your product is, how you're doing it. They all have this because you know what? In their mind, they've had about 3 to 4 touch points with you that they have no idea that has just been part of your automation system. So now they know about you, they know what you can do, they know have an agenda for this call, and they're coming prepared. So, you know, and part of that preparation, if you really, really want to make it worthwhile, you can send them some type of form. You can send them a really soft inquiry and say, hey, I would love to learn a couple of things about your company before our conversation, so I can come with some paint some pictures and come with some solutions already. So now if I get there, if they do fill out that form, I can take that form input, I can throw that back into my AI tool, my ChatGPT, whoever is my best friend at the time. And I can say, I'm about to have this conversation with this new client. Here are their pain points. Here are the things that they need in the market. Here, you know, give me a rundown of who are their competitors and how we can align with them. And I throw that in there. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to come back with something that I can say on that call. When I come, I'm extremely prepared. Here are my assumptions based on what you told me. Here are some things that we can start the conversation with, because I know these are your pain points. So let's tackle those first. And it builds an instant connection with your clients. It builds an instant connection. It lets them know you're listening to them. And then you have to sit silent for a good bit of time. Because you want that first conversation, once you've let them know I've stalked you and I know all this information about you and I've put all this thing together, now your only job on that first conversation is to leverage a tool like Scalable, Fixer AI, something, Zoom that you can capture that conversation and you can record it and you can get a full transcript. You don't want to run down or a short description. You want a full transcript. Get that full transcript. Grab that from that first call. Grab your proposal or your presentation that you had on that first call. Say, here's my presentation. Here is what came out from that call based off of what I presented to them, the feedback that they gave to me because I listened to them that entire call. Give me a proposal. How can I come back to this client? Period. So now you
Wonderful.
know what they want, right? You had a good outline of what they wanted before they got on that call. And then you zeroed it down. So everything that you got from them, because you allow them to talk and you allow them to really tell you what they wanted and they needed, you can now create a proposal and say, I want to run this through, give me a proposal. And these are the things that I want. I need to give them, what are our deliverables? What does the scope look like? What does cost line looks like? And you tell them what kind of agency you are. If you're a first year agency that's saying, okay, I may have like 1 to 10 years of experience, so this is how I need to scope it. If you're a 10-year plus agency, if you are, and you can say, give me price points. And then you can have them actually come up with a proposal. And there are other tools I use beyond proposal, like a Bonsai or a DocuSign, that allows me to be able to create really in-depth proposals that I can send them out to my clients. And as soon as they get that proposal, I can see when they opened it, I can see who they forwarded it to, I can see how many times they opened it. And once they sign it, I can send them to QuickBooks. And that
wonderful.
Process is enclosed for them. And these are the things that you want to create so you can continue to do what you do best, right? I'm a developer. I only want to code. I only want to build dreams. But all these other things, like the paperwork, the invoicing, all these things, we can get that done somehow somewhere else. The prospecting, the sales. I'm not a salesperson. I know salespeople. Okay. I know person. So all those things can get done. As a developer, as a tech person that is really shy. So
wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. And then really quickly, I want to just say this, because you talked about if you were providing a service, but now if I was selling, then I would add in that e-commerce component, which would be Shopify or some of the other tools that you mentioned. And how long would it take me to set up my e-commerce mechanism? Really quickly.
Should be fairly simple, right? Your e-commerce mechanism maybe can take you in about an hour, right? You got to get your product photos. If you're leveraging a tool like a Canva or a Placeit is old school, but it's really amazing because it does a lot of mock-up and comp shots. So if you're like, I want to have my product in someone's hands, if I want to have it on a display, if I want to have it here, it gives you an entire library of stock photography with basically placements, so that you can say, and Canva actually has a really good part of it now. It's not a full library, but Place It is a bigger library of that. But now you can actually create product demos. And if you can get that, now you can throw your necklaces, your jewelry, anything that you're doing in that space on some type of mock-up. And then you can throw that into either a Shopify, which is has AI tools that can help you come up with descriptions if you just do it a little quick and dirty. Etsy is also a really great marketplace. Squarespace, Wix, all of those pieces have really robust e-commerce tools. If you don't have products, as I mentioned, and you do not want to have to print on them, you don't want to have to create all those things ahead of time, then you can use tools like Printify. You can use a Printful, a merch.com, someplace where you can do some print on demand. And there, if you're a print product, like a magazine, or some type of, there are other places like a Mag Plus. They're literally like a ton of these print on demands, and print on demands is the key word that you want to look for, right? And figure out that, and you can have it built out.
Okay.
That should take less than an hour.
Okay, so we're talking roughly the whole process from concept to actually getting to market and getting a client or a customer would be, I calculated, about 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for all of that information, how to help us use these branding and marketing tools to get our businesses up and running. Now we want to turn the floor over to Eve Carr. Eve Carr, we're waiting for you with bated breath. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I love a good evening sesh where we get to focus on all things entrepreneurship. It is for those who are truly committed. I'm going to start off playing a clip from Shark Tank, and just let me know if you guys can hear it and see it.
Yes, we can see it. We can't hear it.
Okay, that's odd. Let's try one more time. If not, we'll forego it. Okay, still not working. All right.
Okay. In the interest of time, we may have to put it in. Can you put the link of it in the chat?
I am just going to the presentation now.
Okay.
Well, since the video will not play, what I will do is tell you myself about Creole Essence. I started Creole Essence after having what I call a hair catastrophe. I was going to an event. I wanted to look my best because I was in the market for a husband. I asked my hairdresser to straighten my hair, and she said, not a problem. I know exactly what style to do. So I went to an event, and even though I did find a husband that night, when I washed my hair the next day, it all fell out. Now, like a good millennial, the first thing I did was cry. And then I called my mom and I said, what's that oil you used when I was growing up that solved all of our problems? And she told me, oh, l'huile mascriti, also known as Haitian castor oil. I dashed to the store. I thought maybe going to CVS or my local Walmart, I would find the product, but everything had hexane bleach and other additives into it. So I asked my mom to send me some from what I call the immigrant stash. These are products that you don't get readily available at home. And when she did, she, begrudgingly, she sent me a product in a rum bottle with tape all over it. And in very true Caribbean fashion. And I was at the School of Government at the University of Pennsylvania. And I said, I should start a business out of this. And I was joking. But then my mom said, actually, let's think about it. And when we thought about, well, how do you make castor oil? This amazing product that, we use for hair care, skin care, and body care. We looked and we noticed that we would be working with farmers in order to plant the seed. When you take the seed and it grows out of the soil, well, how do you get the oil from it? Well, there are women who extract it. And that piqued my interest because women are the ones who have the time-honored tradition and know-how, and they're the ones that are often called potomitan, or they call the staple of a community, and we want them to have work. We thought about the fact that we would be exporting out of the country, helping with a country's GDP. And lastly, we thought about, well, when you want to change the dynamic of a country from one where most people know Haiti as the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and we want the country to be known as one that has richness and goodness in the soil, in the products, this would change the dynamic from one where people, are donating money to one where your favorite shampoo, your favorite hair oil, your favorite products, you're going to buy that continuously, and then you're going to learn more about the country. And then lastly, I'm a beauty product junkie. All those factors are the reasons that I started Creole Essence, out of a personal need to help regrow my hair, but also after seeing how I could help an entire community, an entire country raise people out of poverty, but not only in Haiti, but also around the world. Because in the Shark Tank episode, one of the key things that folks notice is this idea that if we can do this in Haiti, we could replicate it around the world, and we could do it right here in Miami, where I'm located. And I tell that story not only so that you understand what created Creole Essence and the products that we have, but also when it comes to marketing, the number one thing you will hear people tell you over and over again is storytelling. We're going to talk metrics. We're going to talk tools. We're going to talk about things that allow you to grow your business. But the number one thing in order to power these tools is the story of your company and the reason for being. And that is Creole Essence's reason for being. It's about poverty alleviation. It's about making sure that those who have textured hair, those who have dry scalp, dry skin, being able to use science-backed plant-based ingredients to help solve a lot of your hair and skin issues. Now, this is an example I'm giving around what my team would present to me, especially after 10 years being in business, which is, I'm going to distill it a little bit. We're going to see lots of, goals and KPIs. And I want to walk through, when you're not looking at, the pretty products on shelf, what does marketing and branding look like? And so that you could see it's actually very systematized. And something that was stated prior in the presentation is that we use lots of numbers. And a lot of folks who love marketing and who love thinking about aesthetics and storytelling, we often shy away from the numbers because it can feel confusing. So I just want to walk through a little bit about how we at Creole Essence think about our numbers. And I've thrown in some numbers there just to make sure that you get an idea of how this all comes into fruition. So in this one, we're talking about Creole Essence and 10-year anniversary. And this here, for our marketing project and digital goals, we have a $6.5 million goal, just as an example. Now, when we think about our marketing, we think about essentially 4 main areas. One is paid media. So that's our Meta, that's Facebook, that's Google, TikTok, and Pinterest. We think about email, and we also think about social media. Often people think social media is just about engagement, but there are ways to also tie it to actual sales. And when you look at a Shopify dashboard, and when we think about a lot of brands are on Shopify, there are ways to do what's called attribution, which means you get to see where did people come from in your funnel, meaning how did they get to your website? And a big piece of that is social media. When it comes to using marketing for storytelling and for revenue, it's important to distill it down and break it down and break down your goals by channel. So you see here in this example, I didn't just say we have a $6.5 million goal. For each particular channel, there was a dollar amount assigned to it in terms of revenue. Now we got to prioritize. Well, how do we get there? So one of the priorities we've always had at Creole Essence is using our owned media. And what that means, it's things that we control. We control me, because I can get in front of a camera, I can go on Shark Tank, I can go to BET, I could go to QVC and tell the story. You can go on TikTok without having to pay anyone else. Also, when it comes to things like email, you control that as a brand in your storytelling, and you don't have to worry about someone else or another platform being the one that controls your media. So there's a big focus on owned media, especially in today's marketing environment, because you yourself are your company's biggest asset. And in today's environment, founders and people, and even your staff or anyone you're working with who come up front to tell the story, are a big part of your branding and marketing. I always start off telling my story as a founder, because that's what people relate to. That people are like, oh, you had a hair catastrophe, your hair fell out. Well, my hair fell out because, it was bleached. My hair fell out because I kept my braids in too long, or I have alopecia, I have psoriasis. So using your story first and foremost, and then dispersing it out into these different channels, especially your own media, is an important way to go. So some things related to more numbers and metrics as we think about it as a company. So your website is often your number one platform besides social media that folks go to. So there are three things we think about at Creole Essence when it comes to our website. So not just how pretty it is and how fast it loads, but what is our conversion rate? Meaning, how are we getting people to our website to actually purchase? In the CPG industry, which is the consumer product goods, people who sell any product, the normal or average rate is 2 to 4%, right? So we have our goal at 4% in the max, and you will find some folks who will tell you their average conversion rate is 1%. That's important in order to do the math to understand how much money you're going to make on your website based on average what your conversion rate is. The beauty of it is on Shopify, it automatically tells you that on the dashboard, but that is an important metric that we look at when we're thinking about sales. The next key number to think about is your AOV, which means average order value. On average, if you have 10 people going to the site, if you added all of their sales up divided by 10, what is the average person buying? Well, in our industry, $50 to $100 is the average order value. So when I'm doing the math, I have to look at, okay, if I get 5,000 people coming to the site, I'm only going to convert 4% of them. Then I need to multiply that by my average order value in order to understand, okay, how much money that makes me. So that's one way to think about your website. And the key thing to always focus on is, how am I getting people to bundle and not just buy one product, but buy multiple in order to increase their average order value? And then lastly, a major thing for us when we think about our website is retention. And when we say retention, we're talking about, all right, Jocelyn came to the website and she purchased during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But I need Jocelyn to come back. And I need her to come back at least 3 times during the year, right? So every quarter, every 3 months, I need her to buy her castor oil her shampoo and conditioner. And guess what? When I have the new launch of the Save My Scalp serum, I need her to buy that next quarter and have something to keep her engaged. So those are the three things we're thinking about: is new people coming in, what's their average order value, but also how am I keeping our tribe, which is what I call our customers, engaged to be on our website, okay? Next, how else am I communicating and storytelling and connecting with folks? It's email. Now, we use the beast that is Klaviyo, which I will say, I don't love Klaviyo. Klaviyo is expensive. I miss MailChimp, which was what was popular when we started 10 years ago. But it is a monster of a tool because you get to slice and dice information in so many ways. So if you want to understand, where do my customers live? How much, are my customers purchasing per year? What's their favorite product? What time do they buy? You can get all of that information, and that's what they call segmentation in Klaviyo. Now that's important because we want to be as personal as possible when we're talking to our tribe or our customers. And the way to do that is to know them. So you can't be everywhere. So data is going to tell you what to look at. And what do I do with that data? That's the difference between if I send emails at 6 p.m. or if I send it at 6 a.m., right? Our customers like to buy at night. They are night owls. In the morning, they're going to check their email. They'll open it, they'll save it, but then they got to get the kids to school. They've got to make sure that they get ready for work, and they are busy. Now, I know my customers, they'll check it during lunchtime at 1 p.m., but when they get home and they put the kids to bed, when 8 o'clock hits, that is my magic hour. If I send that email out at 6 o'clock, give it some time to get through to where it needs to go. 8 p.m., it's on and popping. I know that's when my customers are purchasing, and that's how I set up my emails to go to them. So again, data is important. It shouldn't be scary. When you distill it and you understand what you're looking for and you know what you're going to do with it, you start off by focusing on the key data. Do not get overwhelmed by everything that's coming at you. Here we do have a segment for SMS. Texting is pretty popular, and we know how many of our customers we want to engage via SMS. But a bigger one for us is social media, because Creole Essence is what you call a native D2C brand. So even though we're in retail, we're at Ulta Beauty as our main retailer, all 1,300 doors. We are at JCPenney. We are at Whole Foods. What happens digitally is what happens in stores. So I spent a lot of time with the team thinking about, well, what post are we putting up? And is this to engage? Is it to educate? Or is it to entertain? Right? Because all those are important, and different social media posts have different goals. And we were awarded for the last, I think, 4 years, one of the top most engaging hair care brands, because we figured out how to talk and keep our customers educated and elevated. Now, I would tell you around, the pandemic and thereafter, we've done everything from host virtual dance classes. We've had talks on, we have something on our social media platform called Talk Back Friday, where we're talking about things that have nothing to do with hair, but they are things that have something to do with the individuals who are in our customer base. So when you think about how you talk to your customers and spend time in branding and marketing, it's a conversation with your girlfriend, except you're using sophisticated tools or tools to help you have that conversation. And that's one of the ways that we use social media. And social media can actually drive about $1 million in sales for us, whether it's through our own posting and being a driver to folks going to our website, whether it's influencers or affiliates. And affiliates are folks that they have a code, so they get a percentage off of each sale. And influencers, you generally pay them in order to talk about the brand or a product that they actually like and enjoy. Last, the beast in branding and marketing is paid advertising. And you'll hear a lot of discussion around Meta or Facebook, which is also tied to Instagram. And Meta has been our friend in the past. It has been a way for us to amplify and really grow the brand to get in front of people who might not have seen us if they don't go into one of the stores or if they don't know us as a smaller brand. And when we think about how much we drive in revenue for paid media, you have brands that can spend easily from anywhere from $5,000 a month to $500,000 a month or more on paid media. And it is an important vehicle, but I always say to new entrepreneurs, make sure you understand how to talk to your customer organically first on social media. And if you see something resonating on social media organically, then put it into your paid advertising, because you have a bit of social proof already. You already know that people enjoy what you are showing. Some quick information just so you have an idea around what metrics we look at when it comes to email. There are two types of campaigns in emails, or two different ways that we tend to look at it. You have your campaign emails. You're sending out, hey, we just launched at Ulta. We have a new product, Save My Scalp Serum. It's going to help because it's clinically tested. You're showing the before and afters. You're getting people excited. That is a campaign email. But after a new person has, let's say watched us on Shark Tank and they just signed up for our email flow for that 20% coupon, then you have what they call flow emails. And that's when you're doing things like an open welcome series, which is, you're nurturing the person. Welcome to the Creole Essence website. Did you know that, we started out of our own hair catastrophe? Here's some information on our social impact. Here's how to use the product. So you're starting off slowly, just kind of like a date, like when you're dating someone. You don't tell them everything all at once. You day by day, you get to know them, and you set up your email flows in the same way. So you set up a welcome for when you're just getting to know someone. You set up, a replenishment flow, which just means if somebody bought a shampoo, you remind them that it's time to buy it again in 3 months. You set up a cross-sell flow, a birthday flow, because you want to remember people's birthdays. There are a lot of flows that you can create, but generally you want to think about your emails between regular campaigns and specific flows. We also look at things like open rate. You want to know what's in the title. Is it engaging people? Are people opening my email and getting it? You want to look at how many people are clicking through your email to see, all right, are all my buttons working? And of course, the bounce rate, which are folks that are not getting the email or who are not opening it. So there are a lot of different metrics that you could look at when it comes to email, but this is just an example of the different ways to look at it and help you understand if it's working or not. Because 25% of a brand's revenue actually comes from email, or it should come from email, anywhere between 25 and 30%. So when you get an email from your favorite brand, go ahead and purchase, because that is helping them grow. And these are some of the metrics that they are looking at. The other thing when we're thinking about, really distilling down, marketing and sales and how do you grow, is to break it down by quarter. They say you eat an elephant one bite at a time. You can't take it all in. So what is it that I'm going to do in Q1? Which is like that January, new year, new me. People are revved up. They want to take care of themselves. What am I going to do in Q2? Spring is coming. Q3 is the summer. She's going to the beach. She's in the pool. And Q4 right now, she's looking at back to school. And then after that, it's deals for Christmas and holidays. So when you think about all of the, we talk email, paid media, or what have you, break it down by quarter and get very specific so that you can measure and see how things are working. Now, when you first start off, you may try to do some of this yourself, or you're going to hire an amazing agency or a consultant like Petra to help you get these things set up. When you do that, the reason why you want to set these goals as well is you want to make sure that when you're communicating with a consultant, with someone that you've hired, or your team, or if it's you want to make sure that you're in alignment about what we're supposed to achieve, right? Because if they're off working on something else and you're like, well, no, what I care about is the campaigns or the flows and how people are being treated and nurtured through that way, then there's going to be misalignment. So you want to be aligned, and that's by setting very clear goals. And remember, if someone's talking to you about marketing and they're not talking some dollars and cents, there is a problem. That is branding, that's not marketing, right? And marketing has numbers attached to it. Don't be afraid of it. Ask lots of questions as an entrepreneur. And now, thank God, there's tools like ChatGPT now, but marketing is a numbers game. We talked a little bit about this already. This is just to show a dashboard, what it looks like, so that all that information is at your fingertips. We talked a little bit about retention, which is how do you make sure people keep coming back? Now, there's some really cool tools that you can use when you want to make sure that people keep coming back to your website. A quiz is a very popular way to engage folks. Everyone wants to know, well, with my hair type, what set of products should I use? If it's a, fashion brand, somebody might want to take a quiz around, well, what type of color or style works best for them? These are all ways to engage and personalize things for folks. When you think about really getting someone to convert, we talked about conversion rate is when someone gets to the site, if there's 10 people, can you get 50% of them to convert, which would be 5 of them. So 5 out of 10, they decided to purchase. So well, what type of imagery are you showing? Before and afters, things that really drive home the message for your brand. There are bundling apps that you can add to your website that will allow for folks to pick which 3 sets of products that they like in order to purchase. We talked a little bit already about loyalty and making sure that people come back. But there's also loyalty apps that you can use to help people earn points and keep them coming back to your website. So in today's age, a lot of things don't have to be done from scratch. You do really get to use tools. And again, one day at a time, you add them on and you test them to make sure that they're working for your audience. And lastly, segmentation. Understand your customers, know their age, know where they live, know what their biggest pain points are, and customers do talk back. All my customers talk back, sometimes too much. So go on social media, read the comments. It drives me crazy when I'm talking to my paid media team and I said, did you all read the comments? I'm like, don't just give me numbers, right? Because numbers are important, but I need context. And the context is in the words. It's in what people are explaining to you. So when you can marry the context, the conversations that you have, let's say on social media, with what the data is telling you, that is when magic happens and you become a professional in helping to drive your team, your consultants, and you as to how to best communicate and serve your customers. And yes, I know I came back with more numbers. In social media, there is still more numbers. How do you know if it's working? Yes, you're looking at likes, but you're also looking at, did anybody share this with others? That's an indication of if people are engaged. How many people even viewed this? There's another amazing thing you could look at is how long did people sit here and watch this for? Did people watch the whole Shark Tank video or did they only watch a half of it or 60-second of it? Because that tells me then, oh, I need to either make the content more interesting or I have 60 seconds to get my message across. So if I'm editing the video, well, if the call to action is at the end, I'm moving it up because I only have 60 seconds. So that's what that type of data tells you. And for different types of content, you can have different benchmarks. So I know that when it comes to social impact and let's say Haiti news, my tribe is going to be really, really locked in and they're going to be really engaged. Whereas sometimes if it's a wash day information, they might be like, okay, well, let me see. There's a lot of content right there of girls washing their hair. I may not watch as much of it, but as a brand, I might need to still have that because it explains how my product works. Hair education. So for different types of content, you can have different metrics. They're not all meant to go viral. Some of them are there to position you as a company because it may not be for your day-to-day person, but maybe it's for your prospect investor. Maybe it's for a prospect partner or retailer looking at your social media. But that is why you want to have different metrics and different ways of understanding what success looks like in social media. There are all these different things that you can also leverage, but I say start first on the digital side because for us as a digitally native brand, everything stems from there. Now, when I have to go to press, if I have to go to retailer, if I have to talk about beauty hacks, all of it comes often from what's happening on my website and what's happening in social media. When you're dealing with affiliates and influencers, more math. All right. There's an amazing tool called Promote that you can use that is going to help you see, well, which one of my affiliates are driving sales? Which ones are driving engagement? They're not the same thing. Someone can have a small amount of followers, maybe they have 5,000, but they bring $10,000 through the door because their people trust them and buy. Somebody else might have 5,000 followers, but have 100,000 views and make you no money. That person knows how to engage and entertain folks, but there's something about them that people don't yet convert, which is what we all are looking for. We're looking for conversion when we're in e-commerce. So you have to know the numbers and know the difference of the people you're working with, and you have to set expectations from there, and there are numbers attached to that. Lastly, I'm just going to say that think about your best performing content. What is it? And for every brand, it's going to be different. At Creole Essence, our family content always wins. People love to see a girl dad and dad doing the daughter's hair. They love it when we're sassy. We're not a quiet brand. So they love, when you come with attitude, and humor is important. And for us at Creole Essence, especially during hard times like it is right now with the economy, with the fact that people are stressed during COVID, anytime things get hard in the world, our customer base wants to see more humor and things that lighten up their load, and they want to know that we understand them. So again, tie your content to understanding your customers. If you do a small trade show, if you're on the WhatsApp groups, I use WhatsApp groups to poll our customers, make sure you bring that into your e-commerce strategy and into your content, because that's what's really fueling e-commerce at the moment. Last, I'm going to say, think about there are metrics for things like videos and people creating videos. We live in an age where speed does matter. Jocelyn was sitting there counting how many minutes. I was like, Lord, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Normally things don't happen that quickly. However, it's possible to speed the process of creating content, of delivering things to your customers when you use the tools that were previously discussed. But it also helps to make sure that you, as an entrepreneur, are able to stay ahead of the curve in terms of what new things are coming about, and free up your time to do things that only you can do for your customers. So do track that as well. I track, and this is an example, I remember when my videographer, he was like, well, how are we going to track what I do? I create videos. Is there a way to add a number to that and quantify that? I was like, yes, there is. I want to know, well, what % of your projects are you completing, getting it to completion? What I see a lot of in entrepreneurship is that we start things and we don't finish it. We don't really track, are we done and did we deliver it? Business favors speed. So money favors speed. So if you find that you're having a lot of unfinished projects, a lot of unfinished tasks, a lot of tools that you're onboarding but not finishing them, reduce the number of things you're doing and wait till you are done before you go on to the next. And it sounds like an obvious thing, but I see that as a block for many different business owners and entrepreneurs. Finish what you start before you go to the next thing. Finish the brand images, finish getting Amazon set up, post the social media content, and then go on to your next endeavor. Lastly, this is just a quick example to show you how we take things from digital and bring it to life on shelf. So these are some things here at Ulta where we're taking some of the things that we noticed had high engagement on our website, and we brought it to the shelf. And then when it comes to social media content and understanding what works, remember I talked about that family content? Well, this is one post that went viral on TikTok with my business partner, Stefan, and with his family, where I was like, let's get all the family at Ulta. Let's get them just going, looking at products and having a good time. And that really resonated with our customer base. So again, taking data that we know works for us online and then going to put it in action, not only in retail, but creating content from that. These are two of our staff members. We know that people love sassiness. these are two of my sassiest staff members. So we had them in store creating content. And these were also things that went viral because we took a look at the data and then we used it in our content. And we also used it in the tools that we purchased. So that is a little bit about Creole Essence. I know I threw a bit at you in terms of numbers, but I wanted to give an overview of how marketing numbers help to tell your brand story and close sale deals.
Thank you so much, Eve Carr, for that presentation on how to keep your customers and look at numbers, 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 numbers. You can't stay in business if you don't look at numbers. Oh, look at everybody's giving you applause. They love it. We're going to move on really quickly. We are running a little long on time here. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So I just want to find out if we can all just stay on for maybe another 10 minutes or so, because we've got another amazing presentation. And then we want our panelists to take questions from the audience. So Mason, the floor is yours.
All right, let me share my screen real quick. All right, everyone should be able to see this slide. Hello, my name is Mason Wright. I am the CEO and founder of Mason Superdogs. I'm also a college student at the historic Morris Brown College. My major is business with a focus in business management. I'm also a Black Youth Vote Fellow. So how I got started. I started my business when I was 9 years old, and I wanted to become a businessman because I didn't want to work for anyone else. So after a trip to New York City and Times Square, I saw hot dog carts and superheroes everywhere. People spending money with the people in full cosplay and people standing in line at these hot dog carts. And it would be a really long line, especially in a busy of a city as New York. And I thought to myself, I could do that. I could bring street vending food to Atlanta because we don't really have a street vending scene. And so I did. So I took the money from that trip. I started saving up for my little red hot dog cart right here by using different seed businesses like walking dogs and washing cars and mowing lawns. I didn't keep those businesses because, well, I couldn't mow lawns in the summer because it's Georgia and it's really hot. I couldn't walk dogs anymore because, well, one, I didn't think the small dogs would give me the most problems. They do, and if you have a small dog, you have a tiny little demon walking around your house. And I thought the big dogs would be the easiest. They were not. They loved to chase squirrels, and I was not that big of a kid. So I took the money from those businesses, I put them aside. I got my first little red hot dog cart from Wish.com, and I did a bunch of businesses. I got my name out there, and I saved up all the money to get my first New York style hot dog cart right here. And that's when I really wanted to study and understand how business works. So I got into every single cohort around Atlanta that I could get into. And so I could just learn about like how to manage and grow my business as much as I could. And after doing a bunch of awesome catering events, I was able to go on the audition for our Shark Tank. It's like the preliminary round before you go to the actual show. And I bombed that on Morehouse They had it on Morehouse campus. It was right next to where my sister went to school, so I thought, I'd give it a shot. And it didn't go so well. So after leaving that main building, I walked to the bookstore to get a drink, and I saw the president outside, the president of Morehouse. And I told him my elevator pitch, my 30-second like business pitch. And he told me I could sell on the campus as long as I had all A's. So, and it helps to have, give free food out to college students, help you with their homework so you can have all A's. So after I had 8 amazing months on the campus of Morehouse, COVID happened, and I couldn't go get a food truck like I had intended for my business plan. But I'm an entrepreneur. I know how to pivot. properties for brick and mortars were super affordable at that time. So I went and found a restaurant not too far away from my home. But I was 14 at this time, and I know I look 14 now, but I'm not. Uh, they allow actually, well, one, they couldn't believe a 14-year-old could own a restaurant, but my argument was, well, if I'm old enough to work in one, why can't I be old enough to own one? And after arguing back and forth, I just decided, you know what? I have a sister that's over the age of 21. I'll just have her to be my silent business partner and co-sign for me so I could just open my restaurant. So thanks sis, she helped me out with co-signing and I was finally able to open my restaurant. But what I always took back from the cohorts, what made my business so successful, was the purple cow concept. And the purple cow concept is in a field of cows, you don't just want a regular black and white cow that gives you regular white milk. You want the out of the ordinary purple cow that gives you chocolate milk. That's what I wanted my business to be. I wanted my business to stand out. So I made my business superhero themed. And everybody loves superheroes. Everyone. And everybody loves hot dogs. So I took those two loves, not just of mine, but for everybody else, and I put them together and I opened Mason Super Dogs. So whether that be with branding from the boxes to doing superhero trivia and little events at my restaurant, but with what I but another thing I do is I would with the kids like with at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or Burger King. Whenever they get like a kids meal, they'll get like a little toy, or for around Halloween season, they'll get like vampire teeth in a little bucket. I want to do superhero mask and cape, and the kids love them. They do. They can't get enough of them. They and I love seeing the kids run around acting like superheroes. It's great. But the littlest things, not just from boxes to doing events, just getting your business out there. You can never do too much when it comes to branding. It's important that everyone knows what your brand is, what it does, and that's how you get your money from it. Now, with marketing, I did a lot of events, from community events with my toy drives and passing food out, to the superhero trivia, to doing a friendly competitive game of softball. We won, by the way. Again, friendly game of softball with another food truck. And this goes to anyone, if you want to try my absolute monster selection of family members at softball, you will lose. I'm not giving up that title. But we also did like different marketing tactics, like doing a dunk tank, where a lot of my customers are really good at dunking me in water. That was a very funny time. But yeah, just doing small marketing tactics like this that will definitely bring in, connect you with your community, especially with the toy drive. Every year, I always do a toy drive, and in this new community that I'm in with my second location, I am planning on passing out food around Thanksgiving every year from now on. And the experience, the experience. Whenever you come to Mesa Super Dogs, you hear me or one of my employees say, "Welcome to Mesa Super Dogs, home of the Super Dog. How can I help you?"
Hi, so I'm here with Zach, our very first winner of our second location's grand opening for our new game that we'll be having. He answered one of my superhero questions, and I guess it was too easy for him. So here on out, they're going to be way more difficult, even for me. So thank you for participating in that. We're so enjoyed.
All right, with our superhero trivia by spinning this wheel, people will love to see bright colors and they also love experiences. So if you're going just to check out Mesa Super Dogs, I rather you, instead of just checking out the menu and leaving buying nothing, win something either for free just to get you just to taste my products, or give you 50% off so you can come back, or if you want to buy that extra hot dog, you can. That's why I have our little superhero trivia where you can win either a free hot dog or 50% off. It's just another marketing and experience tactic that I've learned to use over the years from being in so many cohorts. All right, and that's my presentation. I know we're pressed for time, so I'll rush through it just a little bit, but I'll open the floor for questions.
Thank you so much, Mason, about sharing how you're branding super dogs, superheroes, and hot dogs, two things that people love. That's a great idea. That was a great concept. Now, I want to ask, before I open the floor up, I see that we're a little over time, but before I open the floor up to any questions, I want to ask first, Eve, Carr, and Mason, what kind of inventory management tools do you use for your products?
I'm going to make it really simple for everyone. Start with Excel. Don't get too crazy on it. I've done the big behemoth that is NetSuite, which is cray cray. It takes like 2 years to implement. QuickBooks is usually the first thing you're going to go with in a compilation of Excel and QuickBooks. There are some other smaller tools coming now. It does require research based on where your brand is, but ultimately, right now, Excel and QuickBooks are usually the main things that people are using. We're trying a new one that's supposed to be better. It's called Wherefore, and it's moderately priced. But yeah, Excel, believe it or not. And I know brands that are at 30, 50 million. When I ask them what they're using, QuickBooks and Excel.
Yeah,
And
the
Mason.
same. Just Excel, and also actually being at both locations. Every once in a while, I will just stop in and look to make sure that we have everything. I'll ask the managers, like, hey, what do we need for groceries? Do we need pizza sauce? Do we need more seasonings for the steak? Do we need more pepperonis? Just and because I like to actually like go in and see everything instead of standing at home and looking on the Excel, seeing, oh yeah, we only have this many units left. But yeah, Excel and actually going to the physical locations.
Right, because you should do physical inventory at minimum once a quarter. We have our own warehouse, so the team does it every week to make sure that the data integrity is accurate. And of course, if you are an e-commerce brand, Shopify also has a back end where you place inventory. And there is an app, I can't recall it right now, I can always send it, that is amazing for giving you alerts in terms of out of stocks and also looking at trends to say, hey, there's been an increase, somebody posted, and now, you know, this product is flying off the shelf at 100% more velocity or at an increase, to let you know you need to do something, if possible, to replenish it.
I'm so sorry.
I see Miss Vincent has her hands up. Yes.
I do, because I would love to say this is that Excel, all these spaces are great space, but whatever tool you're leveraging, whether it's a Wix or a Squarespace or an Etsy for your marketplace, usually if you're tracking your inventory correctly in there, so you're saying this is how much I can make in this amount of time and this is what I have here, it's going to automatically do it for you. One really great thing, if you're using tools like a Zapier, you can actually create automations between all of your inventory systems, whether if an Excel or Google Sheets or a QuickBooks or what have you, so that you can really track that. And even if you're using on demand, you can also track that. So always being always understanding what your inventory is so that you can do some predictive analysis month to month, understanding what do you need in these spaces. But most of these tools will allow you to be able to do that. And you can do it, as they mentioned, from a bare bones as Excel. But if you're already in one of these tools, they actually can help you track that. So if you are maintaining your inventory amounts in there, it'll do it for you automatically. And that's what you will want to do so that you can get the reminders and do it ahead of time.
Wonderful. Now, we want to open it up so that our attendees can ask a few questions. We're running a few minutes over time, so I'm just going to open it up to the floor for our attendees to ask maybe one or two questions of our panelists, and then we're going to wrap it up for the evening. So anyone that has a question, just open your mic and ask your question.
This is Gail. This may not be a fair question. Hello, everyone. I'm listening, and all of this is great information. And I'm on a number of nonprofit boards, and I'm thinking, how can I use this to drive donors, right, in this environment? Do any of the panelists have an opinion about that, or know of any experience where people have used some of this information to not just customers, but to drive donors for some nonprofits?
My list actually started off because I was in nonprofit. My email list is as big as it is. It's because I'm a community organizer that became an entrepreneur. So when it comes to, we're talking about slicing and dicing your list. And I also worked in alumni affairs, which is heavily data oriented, where you have to do the segmentation. Is this my $5 donor, or is this my $100 donor, or my $100,000 donor? Is her child in preschool? Like the information that you want to gather about your donors, and then to be able to communicate with them in a personalized manner is very similar to the structure that you would go to when it comes to sales. But I know Petra's probably got a million other things, but that's one thing I would say. Your email list and how you communicate with your donors is really important. You probably use a CRM, a customer relation management system, to go along with that, but email is still king in fundraising.
And on to in this same space, right, is really understanding who your customers are, what their needs are, and you really have to personalize that message. So when you are in a nonprofit space, it needs to be a little bit more intentional on how you're approaching it. None of these messages to your sponsors, your partners, they should not feel generated. They should feel like you are actually answering their question and really coming out to really understand how can we collaborate to make this happen. We do a lot of like partnership, sponsorship, outreach and understanding, but a lot of it comes back from, especially when you're in a nonprofit space, is what value are we all kind of bringing into this space? And if you can find those key indicators or those commonalities, that's where you go in. I love to volunteer time. I love to see businesses. I love, especially people that look like us. I love to see us thrive. So if you came to me and you said, hey, this is what I would love to do, knowing that I love that, yes, I'm jumping in. So you have to make sure that you guys have a common space and you have a common goal. And if you can achieve that, and that comes from, as you've said, understanding your market and what they want, and that is how you're always going to get them. So even if you're a nonprofit space, you can still come out and market and get the dollars that a profit space can get, a public space can get. So it means really reading that and making it personable.
Thank you.
One last question, and then if everyone could stay on for just a moment so we could do our survey. Anyone else with a question? Okay, I want to thank our panelists for joining us today. Eve, Carr, Petra, Mason, thank you so much. You gave us wonderful nuggets of information. This session and all the sessions for the Wealth Builder series will be on the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation's YouTube channel. This session will be posted shortly. And before you all go, I would like for you to do a poll, a survey of how you enjoyed today's sessions, how you enjoyed the information that was shared during today's session. The poll is up now, so if you could answer the questions. And while you're answering the questions, I want to say that our next session will be this Thursday, November 20th, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, same place, where we will be talking about how to use AI tools in your business. So with that, I want to thank our guest again and have a great evening.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.